Hi everyone, my name is Joey Fanfarelli, and I'm going to be presenting the paper I wrote with Paul Harden called It's Badging Time. And we're going to be looking at digital badges specifically. For those who are uninitiated, they are digital indicators of skill or accomplishment, and they are sort of the digital version of scouting merit badges or military ribbons. The most common forms you'll be familiar with potentially in the games world is Xbox achievements, PlayStation trophies, and so on. And they're also very common in learning systems like Khan Academy. And you can see an example on the bottom of one form that badges can take. Digital badges can be really useful, but not always. They have been shown to improve learning, credentialing, and other purposes, but sometimes they just don't achieve their purpose. The research is ultimately still young, and we're really trying to figure out the best ways to design these badges and the best purposes for each design. So we get to a point where we really need to be able to describe our designs accurately and reliably. Specifically, consistency is key. If we're going to run a study and we want to build off of the work of others, we need to know exactly how they made their badges. What was their design? What were their results? Because we either want to replicate their design and use them slightly differently, or we want to use a slightly different design in the same purpose to see if we can uh, get different results. So we need consistency there, and we've started to do this kind of informally in badging. We have some terms that we use consistently, like meta badges, badges that are issued for earning a grouping of other specific badges. You earn these 5 badges, getting that entire grouping will earn you a new badge, and that's a meta badge. Tiered badges. If you have a bronze, silver, gold badge for getting 5, 10, and 15 eliminations, respectively, those are tiered badges. There are different tiers for that similar action. Um, we don't have a whole lot of these design descriptors, and specifically the description of lifespan of a badge, how long does it last before it disappears, is very rarely mentioned in the literature, and that makes it difficult to replicate and elaborate in studies. So this paper proposes a new way to categorize and describe badges based on lifespan. And by lifespan, we mean some badges they're earned once and you have them forever. Others will disappear after some amount of time, whether it's a short or long amount of time. So this paper proposes a starting point for categorizing badges based on lifespan. We do use a deductive theoretical approach via literature review. And just to sort of set the scope of what this is and is not, it does identify evidence for the proposed categories. We propose 3 categories and identify evidence for each of their existence. It does not rule out additional categorizations. There may be others out there. It does not define best practices, although we will make some initial recommendations based on the qualities of each categorization. We cannot explicitly and objectively state that there are best uses for each one of these yet, because this is a foundation to begin studying those best practices. If we can adopt a similar terminology and begin studying these categorizations and where they work and don't. So we can look at those. We are looking at 3 different types: momentary, permanent, and semi-permanent. Momentary, they're issued to a user but never stored anywhere. Key is they will expire after just a short moment in time. Permanent, they're issued and stored permanently without any intention to expire, and that's important. There's no intention to expire. Permanent is a finite word. There's no guarantee that badges will be here in 5,000 years, but there's no intention for them to expire. And then finally, right in between those two, semi-permanent. Issued, they are stored, so they are saved somewhere, but they will eventually expire unless renewed. So let's look at these all more specifically and break them down with associated examples. We'll start with momentary, which are the ones that we never save anywhere. Issued, and then they go away. Oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, basically, once the UI element is gone, they go away. And in our search, there appeared to be the rarest of the 3 types. Now, we did not specifically set out to identify which was rarest and which was most common. I should say that further studies needed. But simply in our initial observations, the momentary badges did seem to be very rare compared to the others. However, we do have examples. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 has a series of badges that you receive at the end of a round, the headshot badge being one of them. Killed enemy by shooting them in the head. In this particular case, they earned 17 of this badge during the round. They earn this, they get some associated experience, and then this badge disappears forever. It's gone as soon as the next round starts or they exit this interface. Likewise, Halo 2, we're going back a little bit, but just to show that these badges have been here for quite some time, there was a beatdown badge. There were actually a series of badges that were momentary that would just simply appear kind of in the little feed here where the grenades are being picked up. And they had a icon, they each had their own icon, and then some associated text. You beat down player name. In this particular case, it was for a melee kill. It shows up and then it very quickly disappears and is gone forever. And you may be saying, well, no, they store somewhere, right? Halo 2, they did not, and they started later on in later Halo games storing them to their own database on their website. More recent example, Rocket League, they have a series of badges that appear after doing specific actions. Low 5 is one. Bump your goal scorer's car after they score. Shows up in the top middle of the screen. There are associated points, but these don't all have to have rewards in order to be considered momentary. But there is an icon, there is a signifier that shows the text there, and there are associated criteria for earning it. Now, momentary badges, we think they may be useful when large number of badges are desired but unnecessary to store. If you clutter up your badging showcase where you show all the badges you've earned, suddenly you start to devalue them. You just aren't as excited about them. Since this doesn't save permanently, they're just they almost work more like pats on the back, good job, or feedback like you did a good thing here. They don't have to clutter things up. They don't have to be displayed. They serve their purpose through their momentary existence. We think they're probably useful for things that will happen often in a game, but are still desirable. Again, a headshot is typically a efficient way to get a frag. And for feedback, I just sort of mentioned feedback can be useful. A quick pat on the back or good job is really nice, and it can be shown quickly and be less intrusive and less fanfare, but showcase still, and often does not need to be stored long term. So in some cases, yes, we might need a longer term thing, but a lot of times, like, hey, that thing you just did, it was good. Probably not so useful when things are very big accomplishments and happen rarely and need to be recorded. Whenever you want to publicly showcase a badge, that's probably not going to be useful for that. And for credentialing, where you need to showcase your abilities or skills, like for a certification, probably not going to be useful there either. Now we move to the opposite side of the spectrum, permanent badges. These are issued permanently without any intention to expire. These appeared to be the most common in our search, primarily because major consoles primarily use permanent badges. PlayStation trophies, Xbox achievements, Steam achievements, these are all permanent badges. And basically every game on these consoles and systems are required to have a badging system, so they've amassed very, very quickly. Just a quick note, although these are issued permanently without any intention to expire, we are proposing that badges that can be upgraded should also be considered permanent because the game will never expire them. Uh, they will remain as they are forever without further user action. If you get a bronze and it can be upgraded to a silver, we recommend that without any user interaction, they're permanent. So we classify them as permanent. We will draw a distinction with ranking badges like in esports later, but for now we just wanted to make that note. Here are some examples. We start with the Purdue's Passport badging system. This is a badging system for their students. When you earn your very first badge with the Passport badging system, you get the Passport Cadet badge, which simply says you've earned your first badge. It shows that you have been initiated into the badging system, you've used it before, you've had experience with it. You're not gonna earning your first badge is never gonna happen again. You earn it once, it's good to go, and it lasts forever. Completionist all the way from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, completing all territories, including their optional objectives. That's a huge feat, and it is stored, depending on your relevant console, into permanent storage. Pokemon Go's entire badging system, they're all saved forever and none expire ever. You might get badges for attending certain events. You might get badges for achieving high levels. There are bronze, silver, and gold, but they will never upgrade or downgrade without user interaction. So once you have a silver, it's a silver for all of time. For permanent badges, they may be useful when accomplishing a feat once is impressive, and recompleting that feat over time probably isn't going to add anything to what you've done. Unlikely to be useful when badge skills are likely to decay over time, because if they decay over time, the badge may become untruthful over time. Maybe you don't actually have that capability anymore. Semi-permanent badges then are lying between momentary and permanent. They're issued, They are stored and saved, but will eventually expire unless renewed. These are intended to expire upon earning. And they're very common for credentialing, is what we found when we were looking around. Because things that expire, your skills may expire, may need to re-perform the feat for that badge to remain accurate. And we start with exactly that, a credentialing badge. The Scrum Alliance offers a Certified Scrum Master digital badge upon passing the Certified Scrum Master exam. League of Legends, their competitive ranking system. Platinum is one example, but all of the competitive ranks are pretty much considered here. You achieve the rank of Platinum in competitive play. At the end of the season, that badge will expire. Or, you know, ultimately you can downgrade this badge and lose it. Now, in many esports games, this badge may be converted to a permanent badge at the end of a season and stored somewhere in your profile. Overwatch, for example, does this. But in that case, I think we are converting one badge, the current rank badge, which is semi-permanent, and that one expires, but we are storing it as a permanent badge in the profile. So it's almost a record of the past rather than a record of what exists now. So in this particular case, we are classifying this as a semi-permanent badge, but this is one of the tougher ones. The metal punch card system in Fortnite will expire without fail every 24 hours. Players are given a list of tasks they can complete for a badge and some additional experience, but every day they will expire and you will be starting anew. Initial thoughts on semi-permanent badges. They may be useful for credentialing badges. This seems pretty straightforward. If they expire, they can be more truthful in terms of what the person knows or can do. Ranking badges in esports games, again, these badges typically disappear at the end of a season or decay to a lower badge over time if you don't play often enough. When offering daily, monthly challenges, sort of like that metal punch card, this facilitates regular goal setting and also when rarity is desirable, simply because the expiration of badges will mean that you have to continue to do it to keep it up, making these badges rarer than others. Unlikely to be useful when achieving something once is good enough. We do recommend that designers make expiration dates explicit and give plenty of time to renew these badges to avoid frustration on the user's part. Now, we want to note that badges can have multiple lifespans. You don't just have to have one in a game. And Star Wars Battlefront does a great job of blending all three. They have accomplishments, they have PlayStation trophies, and they have daily challenges. Accomplishments are earned but never stored. Control point defender, killing 10 enemies in a control point area, will happen in the midst of a game and then it's gone. Permanent play a full match of every multiplayer game mode. You do that. You do it once, and that accomplishment is stored forever in your PlayStation trophies record. Finally, you do have daily challenges, much like that metal punch card in Fortnite, that will expire every day. So if you defeat a hero in that day, you've done it, you attain that badge, and then the next day it's gone and you can re-complete it. In the future research, they should use lifespans when describing badging systems used in research, simply because we need to be able to have reliable results and study designs. Things need to be replicable, and ultimately it makes it really difficult to replicate or expand on research if we don't know the precise nature of the badging design. Future research needs to identify the existence of other lifespans. The study found evidence for these three lifespans. There may be others, and these three lifespans may even have subcategories. This needs to be investigated further. We intend for this study to be a jumping point to the further investigation of lifespans. Finally, identify best uses for each lifespan. When is it better to use a momentary versus a semi-permanent badge? We relay some initial thoughts here, but they need to be tested more thoroughly and ultimately understood so that we can move forward. And hopefully, this foundation, by presenting these lifespans, will allow people to better investigate these uses. That's it for our presentation. If you want to chat, feel free to send me an email, joey.fanfarelli@marist.edu. And again, I did co-write this with bachelor student Paul Harden from the Games and Emerging Media program at Marist College. That's me with some hot dogs. If you have anything, I'd like to hear your questions now. Thank you very much, and looking forward to talking to you.